Dum, 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 dum. Testing, testing. 1, 2. Very good.
Levels.
That was a little flat.
Level!
I hope you're recording. Welcome to My Hill to Die On, episode 64.
Everyone has things they're passionate about.
Things we want our friends to try and experience.
So we've convinced each other to try different things.
And we talk about these experiences to see if we can get just one more person
to join us on our hill to die on.
I am calling my summer running complete.
Oh.
Well, because now we're basically getting into the cross-country season.
Yeah.
Because our school starts on Tuesday, so practices are going to officially start.
On Tuesday?
On Tuesday, yeah. We're going to have Tuesday practice already. I'm assuming not everybody's have done summer running, so we'll start.
I didn't do summer running.
We'll start easy. Well, yeah, but the runners, you would think some of them might have practiced.
Now you're just asking too much.
Maybe. So we'll see. Because every summer I try to get to my record. But I did notice this is the first time I've ever seen it. So on this long run, and I did the same thing last year, yeah, well, on all my runs, I run these loops so frequently, and during the season and during the off season when I'm running, I know where all the water fountains are. You know, I schedule them. I know I'll run 5K, and then there'll be a water fountain. I'll run another 5K, there's a water fountain, another 5K, there's a water fountain. I've got them pretty scheduled because I've run these loops so often, and I know where all the public fountains are. But on this loop, there is a vending machine. Now, there's more. I've seen them around, but there's a vending machine on this loop that will take Suica, the train pass cards, and you can buy a drink with that. And because I'm wearing my Apple Watch, I have a Suica on my Apple Watch, so I can just buy with my watch, so I don't have to carry any change or anything. Interestingly, there's not a lot of vending machines outside of next to train stations that take Suica. So it's not every vending machine that'll take it, but ones near train stations usually do. So there's this one machine, and I stopped there. I stopped last year. I stopped there this year and bought an Aquarius, which is a sports drink, and drank that whole bottle. Take a little bit of a rest, drink that bottle, and then keep going. And this year I noticed that there was an app clip on that vending machine. Do you know what an app clip is?
Isn't it like a miniaturized version of the app that can be like temp downloaded?
Yes, something like that. Mm-hmm. By showing the QR code to your iPhone, it's not a QR, it's like a round QR code. It's a weird looking thing. Yeah, it's like downloads part of the app or something like that. And that's the first time I've ever seen one. And I think these were announced over a year ago. And it's the first time I've ever seen an app clip on this vending machine. And I've saw one on another vending machine because they're like, oh, look at that. You know, the rest of this weekend I saw it on another vending machine. I was like, oh, this one's got an app clip too. But I've never seen them before. I wonder if they're more popular in like America or something.
Possibly. But Japan, give it a couple of years before the technology actually kicks in.
Finds its place.
Yeah.
I know. Wouldn't it be nice if the bank that the school deals with could do Apple Pay? That would be nice. How long has Apple Pay been out? Oh, forever. We can't even add the card to the wallet, right? I wish I could pay with my phone with that card, but I can't. I could do it with my other two banks. My other two banks are added in, but the bank the school uses I can't do it with, which is annoying. Then I wouldn't even need to carry my credit card.
Oh, well.
Well, Suica's nice, and I do use it frequently.
Mm-hmm.
I did realize then, I know I already talked earlier this summer about how convenient it is to listen to podcasts from my watch. Basically, now everything's in the watch. I listen to my podcasts in the watch. I buy drinks from my watch. Like, it's an amazing tool compared to everything I used to run with, which is a huge, bulky GPS watch. It's pretty amazing compared to back when I was in high school. I didn't run with anything because it was annoying. I just had a small Timex, which was a great watch. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. What I can do with this watch is just unbelievable compared to that.
Well, I mean, that's the nice thing about the watch is it pretty much takes care of all of the mobile versions that you'll need. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't rely on it for all of your needs in general, but for something like while you're running, it's great.
Yeah, I guess for fitness, it's gotten very good. So I'm pretty pleased with that. If anything, it would be great if it was cellular and reported back where I was, which I would love to do. But in Japan, you have to sign up with one of the 3 big carriers to do that.
And that's a lot of money.
Yeah, the amount of money you have to pay just for a normal cell phone plan on a 3 big carriers is too much. So it's not just $10 a month more. It's like $30 a month more because of the cell phone plan you have to have. So not worth it. I wish that could get fixed. But I haven't heard any rumblings about that. So,
well, Japanese phone carriers are an issue unto themselves.
Yeah. I'm just glad that MVNOs exist in Japan.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for a long time there wasn't really, but I'm glad they are here now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ryan, did you finish your book? Or your class planning? I'm just shoving the knife right in, Ryan.
Yeah, you are. You know how they say that a bird in the hand is definitely worth two in the bush?
Mm-hmm. How many are in the bush?
There were a lot in the bush, and I ended up with none in the hand.
Okay. I can laugh now, by the way.
Yes, you can.
Because I'll be waiting for my turn.
Uh-huh. So, at the beginning of the summer, I said that I wanted to spend the time doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of writing, and getting my class written, and doing all of these side projects. And I had originally scheduled out my summer very methodically and just, I'm going to do this much writing on this day for this thing, and then I'm going to read a book for my class, and then I'm going to do this. And I had a very strict schedule written down, and I followed it for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe a little bit longer than that, but I had over promised myself. I set up all these timelines and goals and things like that, and really the goals were my problem. If it had been, you are going to spend X number of hours per day on this, and then X number of hours per day on that, that would have been fine. And technically, when I shifted to that, I achieved those goals. I started the summer with, you are going to write X number of words for this, and then you are going to write 2 days of class work for that, and things like that, and did a lot of believing that I could get further along than I actually could. There were a couple of other issues that came up throughout the summer with things like, I went on a trip to Yamanakako.
Right.
Did I already tell this story where I got so badly sunburned? Well, that threw my planning out the window because I was just exhausted from recovery for so long that threw me off my normal pattern. And then it took time to get back on the pattern because how dare you interrupt your pattern?
Mm-hmm.
The long and short is I got further in writing. I developed more of the things that I wanted to develop for writing. I have unfortunately put it on hold a little bit for the past couple of weeks because I have a class that is coming up very soon that I'm not quite ready for yet. I told myself I was going to develop this class over the summer, and I have developed it, but I have not quite solidified a few parts of it, and the timeline is becoming increasingly short. Thankfully, I don't have to teach this class first quarter. It's not till second quarter, so I have till about November, maybe December, when the things that I'm worried about right now, I'm going to need to get. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, the long and the short is I made progress, I got further along, and I set myself up so that once I get past this last little hurdle with my class, I should be okay to refocus my evenings with writing and get a lot further along there throughout the actual school year rather than necessarily waiting for summer again.
Mm-hmm.
So I got further, not as far as I wanted.
Yeah, not bad. But and you got it set up for later. I guess if you had set it up by hours of day, then you could say, well, I'm going to write class or write your work on your novel.
Mm-hmm.
It could have gone a little bit smoother, I guess. Right?
The problem is, and this is my eternal problem, when I am starting to get into certain parts of the stories that I've written in the past, I always have a part of my mind that is thinking about the last scene that I just finished.
Mm-hmm.
And many times that will mean that there is a very loud voice in my head telling me to go back and revise something.
To be the editor.
To be the editor. And that is a voice that I have had to silence a lot. But because of the things that I did this summer with some of the editing that I did, I set it up so that I won't have to do so much of that throughout this year. And I can just work on getting more of it actually down. So, maybe I can still reach a goal that I had, but let's see if that actually happens. Because at one point, I wanted to have a more finalized version of this by Christmas this year. That's seeming very unlikely, but perhaps I could do that by, say, the end of this school year, rather than by Christmas.
Okay. It's a good goal still.
We'll see if I can actually achieve that goal. Money on no, but here's hoping. Now, that being said, now it's my turn to laugh at you. How well did you do with your goals?
Not as well as I hoped. I think when I was saying earlier that I was hoping to get to product level, I didn't get to product level. I got close. I got most of the big things done except for accounts. In Learner Build, it still requires that you log in with Google. You have to have a Google account to log in. There's no other way to log in, which is great for me right now because I basically kicked the whole authentication thing down the road. I don't have to deal with names and passwords. But for a school that wants to use it, I'm assuming they want to send out reports to parents who don't have Google accounts. So therefore, I need to have another method of logging in, and I don't right now. So that is probably the biggest thing that I did not complete. But I did complete a lot of things. I got the marketing site up. We talked about it last time. I did make it so that teachers can attach standards to assessments in such a way that they don't have to grade upon the standard. So that's nice. I will need to make reports on that later, but at least they can attach them for now. So I did a bunch of things, and then I closed off a few bugs. I finished a whole bunch of things for the registrar so that she can manage, our registrar is a female, so that she can manage all of the aspects like grade scales and terms and all of the little things that really only change very infrequently. Semesters change, twice a year. Grade scales probably never change. They change very infrequently, but you have to be able to edit them because
they do change.
They change and the system relies on it and can't just be put in once. You have to be able to change the name of the school, for instance, if that happens, right? I mean, it doesn't happen frequently, but schools sometimes change names. So I have to make that user editable by specific people in the school. It's not by everyone. But anyway, things like that.
So I can't just change the name of our school?
No, you can't. No. No, I'm not even sure I can for our school. I might have only given it to the registrar. So anyway, things like that. Like it's very small things that need to be able to be changed. I don't want them to have to submit support requests for all of this. The only thing at the moment that I didn't make user editable is the grades the school has. That's something that's system editable at the moment. Again, I think it's something that doesn't change that often and has pretty significant consequences if you change it wrong. So that's one of the ones I've made where now they're going to have to email me if it changes. Again, it's not something schools change that often. Oh, this year we're going to do kindergarten. Oh, next year we're not. Oh, the next year we are. It doesn't happen like that. Maybe it could. Even if that's a situation that could happen in a very small school, like, they just don't have anyone in kindergarten, it's okay for it to stay checked. So, because if they start unchecking things, it will probably break things.
I mean, for example, we have a coworker who just moved to the States who this year they're introducing the 8th grade to this school with the hope that the following year they'll be able to introduce a 9th grade to the school and then a 10th grade.
I did think of that scenario. I think that's probably the really only scenario that I would have to deal with, but that wouldn't even be that hard. Even for a school like that, I'd probably just set it up to be their goal because why not? If you're going to start putting standards in, put standards in for the whole of high school because they're going to be that way in the future. In my system anyway, don't do the work of adding a grade 1 year at a time. Shoot for your goal. That way the standards are already ready by the time you have seniors. You've already done the work. You don't have to keep going to each standard and adding another grade to it each time also. So really, even in that scenario, I would just enable all the grades that they want to have. I think either schools are stable, they go up to 8th grade or they go up to 9th grade and stop, or schools are growing. And I think really those are the only two scenarios. I don't think there's schools that shrink, for instance. There's not that many schools that do that. There could be reasons, but not that I know of too much.
Not larger schools. I'm thinking of one of the schools I worked at in Ome had a student population of 32.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
High school?
Middle school.
Mm-mm.
I think it was 32. It was somewhere in the 30s. And each year it fluctuated to the point where there was one year where it was genuinely a concern on whether or not they were going to be able to continue having a school.
Mm.
And I know that some of those schools in situations like that will sometimes like merge multiple grade levels into one classroom and do things like that. But then again, if we're talking about the grading system, that's not going to change that.
Right. Because they're still going to have the grade.
They're still going to have that grade, hopefully.
Yeah. And even if, for whatever reason, they didn't have a 7th grade because nobody was there for that grade, they'll still leave it open because it will happen next year. So,
yeah.
There's nobody purposefully shrinking.
Yeah. Nobody purposefully shrinking. That makes sense.
So, yep, I didn't get there, but the rest of my summer was good. But I did get one goal this summer.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a big goal. It was a small goal. But especially because we had already done Universal Studios Japan. But in July and early August, again, the weather was hot. I think we discussed that in a previous podcast that we were burning up. Sweltering, perhaps, might be an accurate description.
Don't know. Didn't go outside.
Because you would have melted?
Yeah.
We would have picked up Ryan in a puddle on the sidewalk?
Yeah. And I'm in favor of not being in liquid form.
It'd either been that or a fried crisp, right? One of the two.
Either way, not fun.
I think I had said in the last podcast that we were looking at Disney and we were disappointed because the time we wanted to go, it was raining and we didn't go. But in doing, just small browsing around, we were noticing Disney wasn't selling out during the summer. So we were like, that's interesting. Usually in Japan, Disney gets very full. And I think they still had the cap of 20,000 people in the park, which is a small number. 20,000 is not much.
At least not for Disney.
Not for Disney. In pre-COVID times, on a weekend or on a summer day, it can get up to 75,000 people in the park, which would be when you would not want to go. But anyway, it wasn't getting to 20,000 even. The cap was 20,000 and it wasn't even getting there. So we're like, interesting. But still, the weather was too hot. We're not going to Disney and go there to melt or burn. We're not doing that. And there happened to be a day in early August. It ended up being August 5th. That was cloudy and cool with a high of 31, I think. And of course, give a degree or two more for the concrete absorbing the heat when you're at Disney. So, maybe it got to 33 there. And again, Disney does a lot of good things to keep areas cooler. If you're walking in the middle of the pavement, it'll be hot. But you hop near a shop or a ride or something and you'll get cool again. So there was a day that was cool. And we're like, if it stays cool, if the cloud cover is good, we'll take a look at the weather in the morning. And if the weather predicts good, we're just going to wake everyone up early and we're going to run off and go. And August 5th turned out to be the day. So we woke everyone up early and said, hey, we're going to Disney. And they're like, okay, get in the car. Bought some bread at the convenience store on the way out and ate on the way down. Unfortunately, traffic was heavier than I expected, and it took us a little while to get there. We didn't quite get there before opening, which is too bad. But we did well anyway, and we got there with plenty of time. Park didn't close until 9, I think. But yeah, we had a great time. We did many rides. We did everything we wanted to, possibly except Splash Mountain. There was maybe about a half an hour wait on that ride for most of the day, which is not bad for that ride, actually, at all, because normally that's like a 90-minute wait ride. But we did, again, all the rides that were 5 to 10-minute waits. And we didn't do 30. I think we only did something like 12 rides, I think. So it wasn't as good as the Amazing Day, let me tell you. But it was still a very good day.
Well, and for those out there who don't work in Celsius, 31 to 33 is probably somewhere around 88 to 92-ish.
Mm-hmm. Something like that, yeah. So on the warmer side, for sure. But it was fairly cloudy, so it didn't get too hot. So even though it was warm, I guess, it wasn't too hot. The biggest disappointment, perhaps, was the Bell ride, of course, was long the whole day. But we definitely wanted to do the Bell Ride, the new Beauty and the Beast magical ride, something or other, whatever it's called. And we got in line when it was 45 minutes. And we're like, okay, we'll get in line for this ride. And then they had a mechanical or some kind of failure. And they said, it's going to be another 15-minute wait. And I should have at that moment said, okay, we're leaving. And go do something else and we'll come back. I should have said that, but I didn't. And we waited there for the 15 minutes of the failure to clear up. And then they started going again. I think they even said early that they think it's going to be a 15-minute wait before they could get it cleaned up. Should have left and come back. I was kind of hoping that, 15 minutes of line would disappear in front of us. But I was forgetting that this is Japan and people line up and wait. And to be fair, there was a few people that left. I think we probably moved up maybe 5 meters from where we were standing, maybe 10. So yeah, I would say maybe 2 minutes of people left in front of us, but not 15 minutes of people left in front of us. So yeah, I should have just gotten up and left at that point and said, we'll come back and we'll do it again. Because we had only been in line for like 5 minutes at that point. So it would have been wise to no, cut our losses, go do something else and come back. Should have done that. I feel a little bit disappointed that we just stayed. But we did everything else we wanted to. So I was pretty pleased. We had a good day. It was relaxing. We definitely took it slowly. We didn't rush to things. And yeah, we were waiting 10 minutes on each ride. So it wasn't walk-in. And I did notice that they were doing the pre-show in the Haunted Mansion ride. I didn't actually realize this before, but when we were doing the Haunted Mansion in the previous few times we've gone, they didn't do any of the pre-show. The room getting taller and, they do another thing. I forget. You're in a hallway and they do another thing. But anyway, we didn't do any of that before and they did it this time. So it was kind of nice. I wonder if it's because it's COVID. Because before they didn't want everybody in a room together. Maybe. But they don't do anything with COVID anymore. They used to have all this tape on the ground where you'd have to stand separated. They took all that tape up. They don't do anything anymore. And COVID's probably the highest it's ever been in Japan right now. But they don't do anything.
Yeah, that's the thing is the entire world is starting to relax on things. And so I think Japan was like, oh, that means we can too. And now COVID's really starting to spike in Japan.
I am hoping. It does seem from some of the websites anyway that even though it's the highest number of cases, the number of deaths and stuff like that isn't as high.
No.
Yeah, it's a lot of cases, but people are recovering well. So.
And to be fair, Japan has never had that high of cases.
Yes.
I think that's the other side of things is in comparison to, say, America, Japan has had nowhere near the same level of cases.
Density especially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, even with these 25,000 people recently that got COVID yesterday, only 36 have severe cases. And that's lower than during the Olympics. The Olympics, there was almost 300 people with severe cases when the Olympics were here in Tokyo. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at Tokyo's stats specifically.
Yeah, and do we know how many cases in general there were around that time?
During the Olympics, it was 5,000.
Yeah, so 5,000 with 300 severe,
right,
compared to 25,000 with what? 36 severe. I mean, that's something to think about right there.
Yep. Anyway, it was a good trip. We snuck a Disney trip in there, Ryan.
So, despite the fact that I was joking with you about not being able to go to Disney, you still got to go to Disney.
Yep, we still got to go. It was a good time. And we did rides all the way to the end and did a restaurant outside Disney when we were done. So, we squeezed in a lot. My daughters were definitely dead tired at the end, but they had a lot of fun. So that was good.
Well, you start from not expecting to go to Disney to wake up, we're driving to Disney, to run around Disney, and then, I'd be exhausted too.
But it's a peaceful drive back because there's no cars on the road on the way back. That is nice, to go through the middle of downtown Tokyo with no cars on the road. I definitely am feeling better about knowing which highways I'm on downtown. Because those highways just like, oh, okay, you got to be over here. Oh, you got to be over here. Oh, watch out, things are merging. Oh, you got to go over here now. The highway's now on this side of the road. Like, wait a minute, what happened? Yeah, there are a few highways like that downtown. I definitely don't know where I am all of the time, But now I think I recognize more of the intersections and where I have to be at the specific junctions.
At the very least, I'm sure you have the route to Disney down pat.
Well, no, because there's like 5 different ways you can go through downtown Tokyo. Well, maybe only like 3 or 4. I think I have taken all 3 of them at least once now. Maybe I haven't gone C1 the southern route, because again, depends on how much traffic. I have gone C1 the northern route across the top of the city a few times now. That's the most popular one. I don't think I've taken the C1 the southern route, which it could direct me on if there's enough traffic in the northern route of C1, because it kind of encircles the city, which is why it's called C1 Circle 1. And there's C1, C2, C3. C2 would get you there, but it would take longer. And there's traffic on that road occasionally too. So, but C1 feels like the Mario Kart ride where there's 2 lanes of traffic and there's no shoulder, and we turn and spin a lot of the time, but don't touch any other cars. No touching. Oh my goodness.
I should hope you don't touch other cars.
And this time on the way back too. We were on the C1 at the night and a Lamborghini merged into traffic. But because of the amount of turns in this road, there's a lot of time where there's a yellow line painted in the middle, so you can't change lanes because of turns and blind spots and things. So he was stuck behind a truck, so I got to pass a Lamborghini in my minivan. Everyone, look, the Lamborghini. So my daughter was like, "Ooh, look at that." Yep, we're passing him. And then I think we merged off. So I don't think he got a chance to pass me back. He would have probably though.
Probably. See, I'd be too afraid with a car that expensive on those roads.
Driving anyway. Oh, I know. I mean, I'm afraid with my minivan. Not because of my minivan, though. I'm afraid because of the fact that we're going quickly and people are right on my tailgate. That's the ones I'm afraid of. Aye.
What can you do? I'm going to tell you about a new game. Because, it's one of those things that I do every week is I tell you about a game or two. So one of the games that I played over the summer was a game called Kena Bridge of Spirits, which was an interesting game. So essentially you are a spirit guide whose whole purpose is to help guide spirits into the afterlife. And the world building here is if a spirit does not go into the afterlife, it becomes malevolent and you have to fight against it. Like you have to hit it with a stick. I say hit it with a stick because she has a staff that has a magic crystal thingy on top, but essentially to fight it, you hit them with sticks.
It's not a wand, huh?
Not really. It's more of used as a quarterstaff. At certain points, it doubles as a bow, but never as a magical staff. One of the things about this game, though, that is incredibly adorable is there are these little creatures that follow you around. They are called the rot. I know.
So literally, are they rot?
Kind of. Yeah, they help things rot away, and the thing about rot is it usually helps new plants grow in its place. So when one thing will rot away, something else can be born in its place. So the whole thing is you are going around helping spirits find peace, and also throughout this whole thing you are also finding and collecting the rot so that they can help you on your little journey. And one of the things that is incredibly adorable, because there's no other word than adorable about it, is throughout the game you would just have this trail of these little creatures following behind you, and the main collectible in this game is you can collect new hats for them. So they are just so cute. There's no getting around words like that. The story is actually pretty good. It's not a long game. If you are playing it on a regular difficulty, you can probably get through it in about, with collecting everything, maybe 15 to 20 hours. Like how I say that's not a long game.
Mm-hmm. So a few days for you.
But but it's about 15 to 20 hours. I'm just going to leave that there. I don't remember. I think it took me about a week.
Okay. Well, because you might have gone for more than just the basic.
I definitely was trying to collect everything in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a interesting game. So now to get into spoiler territory. So for those of you who haven't played it, you can skip ahead here, especially if you're planning on playing this. If you're not planning on playing this, I will do some spoilers here. Just putting that out there that I want to get into a little bit of spoiler territory for story reasons. So, the entire game, you are helping these spirits pass on, and you are just trying to help ease some of the burdens of this little village that has basically everybody is dead. You arrive and everybody's dead. So the first two people you meet are two little kids who you don't know what's going on, but they are trying to find their older brother, who is racked with so much guilt at not being able to save his younger siblings that he ends up staying and becoming one of these corrupted spirits that you have to fight against. And it's all things like that. It's people who were trying to do their best to save other people, and because of their failures or not being able to do things, it's usually things like that guilt or that sadness that keeps them trapped in these things. Another person who is trapped in this is trapped because her loved one had gone across the sea to try to see if they could get supplies to save the village, because the village was going through a famine at the time, and they never came back. So through like little hints in story, you kind of find out that the person either died somewhere in their journey, but the second person just refused to leave the village because they were determined that they would be there waiting for their loved one to return. But the final boss of the game is the village chief, who actually caused most of the problems in the game because they fought against the rot god. So the little rot that you are collecting throughout the game are actually all little parts of this large rot god who helps the land go through its cycles of, okay, now we need to go into a time of famine so that the earth can recover so we can have times of plenty. That sort of thing. And he didn't care for the fact that their village was dying and said, okay, there's only one solution. I need to kill the rot god. And in killing the rot god, he caused everything to die. And it is a wonderful little story. You really get glimpses into these characters. The main character, Kina, grows really attached to the rot, and the end of the game is actually her saying goodbye to the rot and letting them rejoin and become this rot god again and help the land go back into its normal cycle. So, like I said, it is a cute game. It is a fun game. It is incredibly difficult if you play it on anything above the easiest difficulty. And when I say difficult, here's the thing. It's not difficult in the normal game. It's difficult when you get to bosses. Like the normal game, no problem. Didn't have an issue. The moment you hit a boss, it is like you hit a brick wall.
Takes a few times to get through.
Depends on what difficulty level you're on. If you are on easy, no, you're fine. If you're on normal, I think most of the battles took me about 3 to 4 times at most. I originally started on hard mode, and I was just, after the first boss, just went, why am I doing this to myself? And then after you beat hard mode, another mode unlocks, which is an even harder mode. And yeah, that's not happening. So, it's a fun game, though. I enjoyed it. It was made by a very small group of people, and it was just really well done for, I think this was really their first outing into games, because they used to do CG movies and things like that. But really well done. Although I will say that if I were to advise them for the future, the balance could use some work. So Nate, This week, we're going to talk about work, right?
We're going to talk about work. Our main media today deals a lot with workplace stuff, workplace dramas.
Ooh, workplace drama.
And workplace rewards.
You mean like a dance party?
Like a dance party? No, it's a...
MDE.
MDE.
Music Dance Experience.
Yes. We should have picked music. Oh, well.
We can change it if you want.
No. I've already picked my things. I'm good, I think. In the vein of a musical dance experience reward, we were thinking of talking about either rewarding things at work, things that felt rewarding, or actual rewards you got at work, one of the two. Although I was realizing that our school that we work off doesn't actually give rewards that often.
Well, I should talk to my boss about that.
It's not just me. It's not just me, though.
Where's my musical dance experience?
Yeah, good question.
Every time I finish a program, do I get an MDE?
We should do that more often, huh? You could pick Defiant Jazz.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I can only remember, and not to slight our school.
No.
But I think I only remember like one time where we used to give awards at our all-staff meetings. And back then it was like the Gumby Award for being flexible, which I thought wasn't bad, but...
Yeah, but I think here's the difficulty with awards I find is it's hard not to make people feel slighted when they don't get it.
I know. That's what I was thinking too.
So unless you're giving it to everyone, it's really a tight rope.
Well, and then if you give it to everybody, it's not special.
When everyone gets a music dance experience.
Ain't nobody special.
When everybody's special.
We're mixing metaphors. Everybody should watch Incredibles also, by the way. But anyway, that's another movie. I will pick one first. Back when I first came, I was realizing this recently too, is that we've really built up our systems here for a long time. When I first came, we didn't have a staff portal or an internal website for our staff until I came and kind of started one up. And for a few years in there, we were getting new systems left and right because there was a lot of things we didn't have. We didn't have a way to report attendance online for teachers. We didn't have a way to do certain assessment reporting. Like we had a lot of this stuff that we just didn't have. And one of the big ones was I announced staff absence. And you know it well because you've had to work on it since you've been here. And it's one that has gone through a lot of changes. Although, no, I would say that actually online attendance has gone through probably the most changes since I've come. I think we've programmed that in 3 different programming languages, and it's migrated each time. But staff absence is one that's fairly close to the original programming. It's changed here and there in little ways. It's not changed in large ways. Our school changed to an A-B schedule, so things had to change there. There's been adjustments to the procedure, who approves when, but it's stayed mostly the same. But anyway, when I announced that system, I think it was prime time to do it. I had recently announced other systems, and I didn't realize at the time. I thought, I'm going to have new systems every few months. But when I announced staff absence, it was a big change for our staff. Back then we had nothing, right? You had to email your supervisor when you weren't coming in. And there was no real approval process, and there was no way for the office to follow up with, okay, now they've asked for an absence, what subs do I need to get for them? And then how do we pay the subs, and ways for subs to respond to see if they're available. This is a very sprawling system. And really the staff end of it is the tip of the iceberg. But they were very excited about it because it was so much better than what it was before. So I had gotten such a great response from the staff. And in some ways, it did kind of make me feel like Steve Jobs announcing something. And I don't think I've ever really recaptured that experience, even in systems we've announced after that. And partly because most of the times when you're announcing a new system, you're actually announcing something that staff have to do, right? You're adding to their to-do list. And it's not terribly often I realized that we're announcing something that is not adding to their to-do list. That was one of the times where it actually was improving their thing. But I don't think we do that too often anymore. So it's too bad. And I think it was prime because I had already announced a few systems that were saving time for them recently. Not last month, but within a few months before that, and a few months before that, we had online attendance and other systems that had primed them for this system that was like, oh, this is great. I think that's partly why, because staff absence, not a very exciting system in the whole grand scheme of things, but I think it was the right time to announce it and get it in front of everyone. So anyway, but yeah, you've gotten fairly familiar with it because you were the one that had to make the changes to the AB schedule, that's for sure.
Yeah, had to add those variations and double checks and triple checks to make sure that, oh no, this is this day, not this day. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of hope that we will have another experience like that,
Mm.
you and me, in announcing a system. I don't know if we will, because I'm not sure there's anything that's going to hit that chord again.
I think also, and here's the real hard part about it for now, is the fact that unfortunately, we have trained our staff to know that we are doing things like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we release a new system or we update a new system, it's kind of a, oh, that's great. But they were expecting us to do things.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more expectation now.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising. It's not wowing.
Whereas back then, when you were still getting things up and running, every change was a huge groundbreaking thing. Whereas, like, let's say I made one system and moved it so that it's no longer being printed in paper, but is now online. So, for example, payslips.
Mm-hmm.
When I released that, that's a big change and a really helpful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a rock star change? No, because people were expecting us to do things.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I don't think we're going to get to that level again.
Well, options.
We can fire everybody and bring in new staff in and wow them.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is the fact that when people are brand new at our school and realize that so much of what we've got for a website and our database is all in-house built, that tends to wow them right away, and then they get used to it. Yeah. So,
and then they don't realize that it took 15 years to get here, right? It's not like we built this website yesterday. No,
we built it on rock and roll.
No, sometimes I listen to classical. No, it took us a long time to get here. It's not something we did quickly.
No. But that being said, I'm sure that the new staff orientation, when they realize that, oh, this is all in-house built, that probably wows them a bit.
Yeah, I don't actually say that. I think they realize it over time.
Mm.
In fact, I didn't even admit to the new staff that I built Learn or Build this year. I think somebody else might have said it, though, in a division meeting or something. So I don't have to be the one to say it.
Yeah. Hey, if you ever have a problem with the grading system, just, talk to the...
Well, because that's what they should do anyway, right? They should talk to me and then I would email them.
Mm-hmm. You should email yourself.
Well, and I did keep emailing the previous one and they never changed it, which is why I built my own. Anyway. All right. Well, what do you have, Ryan? What's been rewarding for you?
Well, the first one I'm going to do is I was thinking of a physical reward that I actually got from working at a place. And the one that I remember is silly because it is from Geek Squad.
Okay.
So I, at one point, worked for Geek Squad, Best Buy's computer repair and tech support division. And at the time that I worked there, they had the little tin badge that has your name on it and your ID number.
For everyone to see, Ryan, that's hugely, private information that you're displaying.
Well, it has your last name. Not even your full name. But yes, it does have your ID number on it. But yes, that is private information that is on display. That being said, those ID badges were given to the staff after working for the company for 18 months, if I recall correctly.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't just get it right away?
You couldn't get it right away. You had to consistently work for them for, I think it was 18 months. Now, I worked for Geek Squad while I was getting my master's degree. My master's degree took 18 months on the dot. So the reason why I remember this is the fact that I did not receive my badge while I worked for Geek Squad. I worked for Geek Squad for 18 months and they ordered the badge. Then, about 2 or 3 weeks later, was about the time that I needed to start looking for teaching jobs because I had just gotten my master's degree and my teaching certification. So I started applying and put in my notice. So when I got my teaching position and moved out to where I was going to be teaching the next year, I hadn't received my badge, but they had ordered it. And I remember this because I had two good friends who worked with me, and they decided that they were going to go on a road trip out west. And while they were going on this road trip, they decided that they were going to stop by and spend the night at my place, and I would give them a place to kind of rest halfway, 10 hours into their trip. And when they did that, they also brought with them something I did not expect, but that tin badge. So after I had quit the job, but they had already ordered and made this badge for me, it arrived, and those two friends got permission from the manager of the store to hand me the badge because I had officially worked long enough that I did earn it, but I had quit before it had arrived. And I remember that because it was really nice of them, and it was really good to see them after I had left that position. And they had a really cheesy fake award ceremony for me in the parking lot in which they handed it to me. So, I enjoyed it. But yeah, when you said rewards from your work, that was the first thing that popped into my head because it was a physical reward that I did get from my work. And yes, that is why somewhere in my apartment, I have a badge that says Agent Smith on it. Yes, because when you work for Geek Squad, you are all Geek Squad agents. So yes, I was Agent Smith. And then I get to greet people by saying, hello, Mr. Jones. Hello, Mr. Anderson.
You just need the sunglasses to match.
Yep.
All right, my next one is, this is a reward that we got, I think. Back when I first came, we used to do a few more, and I think even more before I was here, we used to do a few more trips as all staff. We used to take trips as all staff. And one of the things that we did during staff days at the beginning of the year was you had a choice. You could either go to Toshimaen, the amusement park, which is just outside Tokyo, or go to the Toshimaen like onsen thing right there at the station, which I think is still there actually.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a family onsen. It's an onsen that you go to where you wear your bathing suit because it's mixed gendered onsen. I think they might still have single gender spots where you would take off your bathing suit, but generally speaking, this one I think is more geared toward families. So it's you wear your bathing suits to this onsen. So you could go to either one. You could go to the amusement park or to the onsen. And I chose to go to the amusement park with a few other of the younger staff, and we had a great time. This was back before Toshimaen was kind of falling apart. So this was years ago. In fact, Toshimaen, the park, is closed now. I wanted to look that up, but it's fairly closed.
I think they're replacing it with a Harry Potter world or something.
Yes, they were replacing it with some kind of Harry Potter world, which is interesting. Have not read up on that, but it's an old amusement park. This has been around forever. In fact, apparently the merry-go-round was installed in like 1907. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. The merry-go-round was built in 1907, but in Germany, and dismantled and moved to Japan in 1971. Earlier, and opened in Japan in 1971. So anyway, the park got kind of dilapidated, so which is too bad. Oh, it says the new Harry Potter area thingy is going to open around 2023.
Oh, we'll see how it is. Do they give a month in 2023?
Spring 2023.
Oh.
So actually kind of soon, isn't it?
Before the end of the school year, potentially.
Yeah, interesting. I remember even on that trip, right, there used to be an induction roller coaster there when I first came. And the last few times I went to Toshimaen, that was all taken down. But that was kind of fun. But yeah, I had a fun time with the young staff going there. And I went back with my children a few years ago, and a few of the rides were a bit dilapidated. But there were some newer kids' rides, like carnival-y rides that they drove in, right, and parked permanently there that were nicely painted and newer. It was kind of nice, but I think Toshimaen definitely seemed like it had lost a lot of its charm over the years, which is too bad, especially because the other Seibu amusement park, the Seibuen, is also kind of run down and dilapidated. So they're not doing well in their amusement parks.
Well, that's because everybody just goes to Disney.
Well, I think that might actually be true in some ways, right? So do you have to have a theme to be a good amusement park?
No, I think part of it is the fact that when those ones were built, cars weren't, like, not everybody had a car.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is way before Disney, too. These places were built.
Yeah, and so I think part of it is people probably used to go to the ones that were close to them
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't have to worry about getting through the city and you didn't have to do this and that. But, with the prevalence of Disney and like how much that name really carries weight, I can't really say that I necessarily blame them, especially with the fact that transport has become so easy.
I think you're right. I think that transportation has gotten much easier. There's another amusement park I went out in the country of Japan, and it has like a Paddington theme.
Mm.
And it's not bad, but it's showing signs of dilapidation as well. So, yeah, I bet you these places they have a hard time competing.
Yeah. I mean, how can you compete against the mouse?
Right. Or even Mario. Mario. Sorry, my New Jersey comes out every once in a while. Mario.
I've never mentioned it to you.
It's Mario. What are you talking about?
I have let you say it however you want, even though
Even though you're laughing inside, huh?
Not laughing. Dying a bit.
Mario or Harry Potter in USJ, right? These places, they got to be pretty big draws.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you they're super expensive. So I don't know how these small parks would ever afford licensing for something like that.
Yeah. Especially because it has to be something that can consistently draw for years.
Right. And I've seen some like Hello Kitty partnerships, which isn't bad. Like Cebuen had a Hello Kitty thing for a little while. And that was kind of fun. We went with our kids once and that was fun. But I don't think Hello Kitty is a big enough character to carry the whole park.
Well, I mean, I just think of things that, like, you can't get things that will fade from vogue. For example, USJ has a lot of, like, separate worlds, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, they have the Super Mario World now.
They have a Peanuts World, too.
Don't they have a Monster Hunter one?
They might have a 4D thing. We didn't do any of the 4D rides.
Oh, no. They had a Monster Hunter part of the park for a while, and then I think they probably took it down.
They have a Jurassic area. So yeah, anyway, Toshimayan was a fun place. It was definitely fun when I went with the young staff back in the day, and when I was young too. And we did have a few times going with my kids as well when they were young, which was years later, but they weren't doing the big fast roller coasters that were taken down anyway. So we did all the kiddie rides and had a great time. So even the 100-year-old merry-go-round.
I think perhaps the next one that I'm going to talk about is actually very similar to yours, but not quite. So we've talked in the past about our hiking excursion that we go on as a school.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I remember, I'm telling this story because it was a very weird thing that I got included on this reward, even though I felt like I didn't deserve it. On the first year I was here, I believe I have told the story about the fact that I went on the hiking excursion and realized that I had the stomach flu.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I had to go home after one day because I had spent one day out there and had spent the entire night sleeping on the mountainside, feverish, and the other two leaders were just like, no, we're not carrying you up the mountain. Go home. Which, in retrospect, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, especially when you had two other leaders.
Yeah, we had two other leaders. So after the trip, about a month afterwards, the coordinator of this entire excursion gets everybody together who had been on the trip and says, we're all going to go to the onsen to have a relaxing debrief. And I think it was a month. It might have been only like 2 weeks afterwards, but we're going to have a debrief afterwards just to kind of talk about how the trip went and how we could potentially improve it, but also just to relax and kind of have a reward and celebrate for just the people who had been on this trip. Now, I was included in this trip, even though I had only made it a day. And the reason I bring this up is because it was a lovely onsen. It was great. It was really nice to hang out with the others there and just relax. but I always felt like I definitely didn't deserve it. Because again, I had climbed one mountain, fell asleep on the mountainside, feverish, and went down that mountain and got on a bus. That was my entire trip. And I felt it was good because I had a different experience from everyone else, and that is an experience I will remember. But it definitely felt like I had missed out on something and that I didn't quite belong in that rewarded group. And that is something that, while I received that reward, I will always remember that it didn't quite feel right that I was receiving that.
You were the imposter.
I was the imposter. I didn't belong.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other reward that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to pick 3, Ryan.
That's fine.
I'm going to break the rules.
Well, if you pick 3, that just means you have more to edit.
I didn't actually know this existed, and I don't know if the students made it up or not. I think it might have some bearing in reality, but in cross country, one year, we won the postseason tournament. Usually we go to Guam for our postseason tournament because that is where the largest amount of competition exists. And generally, the Japan teams are fairly strong. If we're not up there, then one of the other Japan teams is up there. Maybe even 2 of the other Japan teams is up there. But it's usually international schools from Japan, international schools from Korea. Sometimes we get some schools from Hong Kong and Taiwan. I wish they would come more often. Sometimes Singapore. It usually kind of fluctuates who comes. But usually we have between 14 and 18 teams. And I think the highest we've gotten is 23 teams. So it's fairly competitive. And we like to go. And one year we won. And most other sports compete in something called Far East, which is organized by the Department of Defense schools, the military schools in our area in the Far East region, hence Far East. And they compete in that tournament. But anyway, cross country has its own tournament. And the kids had heard that if you win Far East, the school takes you out to dinner. And I had not heard this. I was like, yeah, whatever. But the principal at the time had decided that, sure, if you guys win Far East, we'll take you out to dinner. Or if you guys win the cross country tournament, we'll take you out to dinner. So I was like, okay, interesting. So again, they won. So the principal actually took me and the team out to dinner. Now, he took us to a steakhouse and gave us a limit of something like $15. So there wasn't much on the menu we could buy for that. And I was thinking that's a lot of money anyway for the amount of people on the team. So I was pleased that he had given us that amount of money, but yikes. When you split it up amongst everybody, it doesn't come out a lot for every student. But hey, that actually was a pretty fun time, and that was a fun reward that not only I got to participate in, but all of the athletes did too. I don't know if that would ever continue. I don't think we've had a team that's won Far East since then, not that I recall. So I don't know if it's something that will continue on. I don't know if the current principal knows about it or would do it, although I would tend to think she would if given the chance. Mm-hmm. She probably would be one more likely to do it than other principals. So, But yep, there we go. I got a reward for just watching kids run. Okay, maybe I did a little bit more than that, but still.
You told them how to run.
Well, yeah, I said, put one foot in front of the other and go as fast as you can do that.
Yeah, and then put the other one.
And just keep going until you cross the line or until I tell you to stop.
Until you cross the country?
That's exactly what until you cross the country, yes. That's exactly what I told them to do. So there you go. That's all the rewards I've ever received here at this school. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
I received a lot of affirmation.
And don't worry, our treasures in heaven are accruing rapidly.
So, Nate, you got me another Calpus.
Yes, I did. I bought both of these, did I, huh?
I believe you did.
This Calpus and the other one? Yeah, I got you another Calpus because Calpus is great, Ryan. I don't know what you think, but Calpus is great.
Well, you see, this is a Calpus soda, and so I think that it'd be great if it was just the soda water.
Just the soda water without the Calpus, huh?
Yeah.
Well, this one looks interesting. It's Calpus pineapple, sorry.
Yeah.
Which is often shortened in Japan to just pine.
Yeah.
Because pine tree is said another way, so they can shorten it to pine and not be confusing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't you drink pine tree sap or whatever?
Not that often, no. I usually skip that.
Yeah.
But this is advertising sweet and what is supai?
Sour.
I thought that did mean sour, so I think it's sweet and sour.
Yeah.
which I guess is what pineapple is. Although I usually think of it more sweet and tangy.
Well, I mean, the spite is usually translated sour, but I mean, it can be things that are tangy. I usually think of when people say spite, I think of umeboshi.
Umeboshi, that's what I was thinking too. Which I guess is tangy. I mean, it is sour, but it is fairly tangy.
I think it's good.
I'm not a big fan.
I know. We've had this conversation. I like it. You don't. And one of us is right.
Well, and back on that wilderness trip we were talking about, they did have umeboshi as one of the snacks. And I was hungry enough and just had to eat it because I was hungry. And that's what the snack was. And yeah, I just needed food, so I ate it.
But Kelpis soda.
Kelpis soda. This one is a pale yellow. Not the white color that we expect.
Well, it's the white mixed with pineapple juice.
Yeah.
So it looks like pineapple juice.
Mm-hmm. With 10% pineapple juice.
Ooh, moving up in the world, eh?
Hmm.
Well, I think that this is probably going to be good. Well, I say good. Hesitantly, I think this is probably going to be better than pure Kelpis.
Exactly. That's what I think. You think the pineapple is going to add to the taste?
When you start at the bottom, there's only one direction you can go.
Kelpis is pretty good. We'll see. All right, here we go. Strong pineapple smell.
Yep. Smells like somebody just took a cup of pineapple and poured it in.
I think it tastes like pineapple.
Tastes a lot like pineapple.
It's pretty strong.
Very strong.
In fact, the Kelpis is a little bit hidden.
I barely taste the Kelpis, which is good.
It's bringing the score up for you, is it, huh?
Well,
man, you barely taste the Kelpis.
You barely taste the soda, too.
Yeah.
It is not very soda-y.
All right, but here's the question I have for you. I think the sweetness
Mm-hmm.
does not taste very pineapple-like. The tang feels very pineapple.
Oh, yeah.
But the sweetness, a little off. And maybe that's where the Kelpis is.
Yeah, that's definitely Kelpis flavored in the initial taste.
Mm-hmm. But even in the lingering sweet, I think.
Yeah.
I think the tang is good enough.
I think the tang is good. I think that it could be better. I think that this would be better if it had more soda.
Yeah. Didn't mean not as much fizz, you mean, right?
Yeah, if there was more carbonation in there.
Yes.
I think it would be better that way. Because right now, it feels like you're drinking pineapple juice with a little bit of a zing.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. When I opened mine, I didn't hear a spurt of pressure.
Me neither.
Actually, I heard a little bit.
I mean, barely any.
But I did not hear much coming from mine at all. So we'll see if the mic picked anything up. But
and it's still way before its expiration date.
Oh, good point.
So, I mean, I'd expect it to start losing its fizz if it were after the expiration, but we're still significantly before that.
I guess Kelpis is kind of lightly carbonated, generally.
The soda, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't always say that.
I don't know.
But this one does feel weak in carbonation, that's for sure. You are right.
Yeah. Most of the time I am.
Yeah, sure. We'll let that one slide too.
Thank you.
But the tang is pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say that the tang brings it up, right?
The tang definitely brings it up. I think I was hoping for more soda than Kelpis. And I think if they had rebalanced that part of the formula, it would be even higher. Because I think the carbonation with the tang would just knock it out.
Mm-hmm.
But as it is, it's all right.
I think I'm going to give it a 7.
I'm not going to give it a 7. So the real question is this fruits cream soda level?
Yeah.
Or Kelpis citrus level? And I'd say it's closer to fruits cream soda than it is to citrus. So I'm going to give it a 6.
I mean, interesting, because I gave citrus the 6 and Kelpis, the citrus Kelpis 7.
Yeah. I think I like the pineapple flavor enough, and it hides the Kelpis enough. I just think that it could be better. All right, so Kit Kats. We actually have some this time. 2 weeks without.
Coming back with a bang, because this one's imported.
Where's this one imported from?
England.
Ooh.
Yeah, this one comes from England. We had a friend of ours, Scott, who has been in numerous guest appearances. So this is interesting. He brought us a honeycomb Kit Kat. I love how the number of calories is prominently displayed on the label. I wonder if that's law over there.
I don't need to know. I know.
I know that this is as much as a can of Coke. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's right up there with, just think that the entire bottle of Kelpis soda is 33.
33, really? That's it? That's not that bad.
That's what it says.
Wait, 33 per 100 milliliters.
Oh.
Sorry, Ryan.
Well.
That means it's 150 or 160-ish.
Well, who reads the serving size?
And who's going to drink 100 milliliters of a 500 milliliter bottle? I mean, really? Come on. You package it in 500 milliliters so that you can drink it all in one shot. Anyway. So this is only slightly less than the Kelpis Pine. What does yours say on the back? Would you rather? Do you have a would you rather on the back of yours?
Yes, I do. Would you rather be able to shrink to the size of an ant or grow to the size of a giraffe?
Oh, both are bad news.
Yeah.
But I guess ant, if anything.
Yeah, ant.
All right, would you rather be the person who has held the door open too soon or the person who has to run for it?
Oh, I'd rather be the one who holds the door too soon.
I think so too.
I've been that guy.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm probably going too fast in my life anyway. I'd rather slow down and wait for somebody to come. Yep. Interesting. Anyway, that was fun.
Yeah, I would definitely prefer to be Ant-Man, though.
Although Ant-Man can make himself large.
Mm-hmm. I mean, between being Ant-Man and Giraffe Man, I'd be Ant-Man.
So this Kit Kat 2 is not mini-sized like the ones we get in Japan.
This is a regular-sized Kit Kat, but there are only 2 bars. So rather than the 4 sticks of a regular Kit Kat or whatever, is it 4?
No, we usually get 2 in a mini.
No, well, yes, I was thinking...
Oh, yes. 4 sticks in a regular Kit Kat, yeah. From of old. Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't had it since growing up, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this is 2 regular long-sized Kit Kat bars.
Wrapped in foil.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So if you heard the unwrapping sound, that was me unwrapping the foil.
At least we're not getting the little plasticky sounds that we have to cut out. Those plastic sounds are annoying in the edit, that's for sure.
Uh-huh. I've also noticed that what's worse, and I think we're both guilty of this, is after we've done that and then we continue to play with the plastic after because apparently we both need fidget toys.
I know, we need silent fidget toys. It can't be wrappers or Kit Kats.
Anyway, so honeycomb Kit Kat.
Let's give it a try. It is brown, chocolatey, so let's see what's in the inside. I'm getting the honey flavor.
Oh, I'm getting very strong honey flavor.
I'd say it's good.
Mm-hmm.
First impressions are good. I'd say it increased the sweetness
in
a good direction.
Yeah. Honestly, it tastes like honey.
Yeah.
It tastes like you are just mixing chocolate and honey. It's not bad. I would say that the size of the bar is just right. In fact, I could potentially use a mini version of this because this is great. But again, I feel like this is one where if I had more than one, I would get sick of it probably too quickly. Because it is very rich. It feels rich.
It does.
Almost CC Lemon Rich Honey Rich.
Yeah, but not quite.
Not quite.
Not overboard. Not for one, at least.
No, for one, it's great. But again, if I had had more, I think it would have been too much. But it was good. I like it. I think the honey flavor really, personally, I feel like it elevates the Kit Kat.
I think so. I make my general comment that Kit Kats are sweet. And this was sweet, but it was sweet in a different direction. I think that's where I was going, where it's not bad sweet.
No.
I would say it does, like you said, elevate the Kit Kat flavor. Yeah, I would agree.
I think it elevates it. I don't know.
Where do I put it on the scale, though? I think maybe 7?
Yeah, I'm feeling a 7. I was trying to decide between a 6 and a 7, but I think it's better than a 6. It's a 7. So it's good. It elevates the flavor.
It's not amazing.
It's not, you should go and fly to England just to buy this, but it's definitely, I think, if you're looking for a change-up of the Kit Kat formula, it's not a bad choice to try.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan.
Yes.
I had you watch a TV show. I actually did, but it wasn't for this episode. It was I had you watch it earlier when I watched it because I said, Ryan, you got to watch. This is a good show.
Yeah, you were like, oh, Ryan, you'd love this show. It's one of those uplifting shows that I know you'd...
that you'll enjoy. Just like Vincenzo, It's a show about murdering people. Oh, wait a minute. Well, in some ways this one is that. But anyway, we'll get into that too. Not the same way that Vincenzo is a show about murdering people. In fact, 2 episodes ago when we mentioned Severance, I cut a bunch of the spoilers out. So I wrote down what I cut out so we could talk about it again here, though.
Okay.
Because I was like, I'm going to cut this out because it's spoilers. And we had realized that we were going to talk about it at some point. So I'll bring it up.
Oh, good. Because I don't remember anything. The moment something comes out of my mouth, I forget about it.
I know. I'm always surprised when I'm listening back to our episodes. Like, oh, yeah, we talked about that.
Oh, I said that. Ooh.
And every once in a while I get the feeling like, oh, I hope I say this. Oh, I hope I say this. And then I do say it every 2 minutes later. I'm like, good. Phew, okay, I covered it. Whew, I was awake back then.
Not yet.
So anyway, Severance. I had you watch Severance.
Yes.
Because it's a good show on Apple TV Plus, which I know is a streaming service you still have. Sorry.
Well, I don't have many others.
No, not anymore. And I probably should cancel some of mine too.
Well, I mean, I just went through my list of like, I don't watch this, I don't watch this, I don't watch this. And in shifting what I've been doing to just Apple TV and then purchasing movies that I want, it actually makes me really aware of what TV I'm actually watching and pretty intentional about like choosing good movies rather than just watching junk.
Yep. So, and that whole season of Severance wasn't too bad.
No.
Being only 9 hours or 45-minute episodes. What was it?
I think it was somewhere between 45 to an hour each episode. They fluctuated a bit. I mean, it was no hour and a half long episodes.
Nothing like Vincenzo.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
But really pretty tight. 9 episodes. I think I watched it over the series of like 3 days.
It is a binge-worthy show.
Yep. And I really liked it. So, before we go any further, I'm just going to give a quick elevator pitch. And if that sounds good to you and you haven't seen it yet, I highly, highly recommend that you go and watch it. So skip the rest of the episode and go and watch it and then come rejoin us when you've watched it. So the quick elevator pitch of this show, Severance, is Mark S. works for Lumen in their macro data department as part of their Severance program. The Severance program, as the term says, severs your work memories from your outside memories. When they're at work, they only remember things from while they're at work. When they're outside, they only know things from their time outside. The season opens when Petey, Mark S.'s best friend and supervisor, is no longer working for Lumen. And now Mark S. is put in charge of his department and the training of the new hire, Helly. After work, that day, he is approached by a man who claims to be his friend Petey from work and claims that he has been unsevered and not everything is as it seems. That is my elevator pitch of Severance. It is a good show. If that sounds interesting to you, please go watch it.
So Ryan.
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yeah. Like I said, I watched it in 3 days, so I started it and couldn't stop.
Yeah, it's good stuff. One of the things I was telling you earlier is I was looking up on Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
The building they use is Bell Labs in Holmdel, New Jersey. And that is less than a mile away, it seems, from the place where I would run the state meet in New Jersey. So I've been in that area. I didn't ever see that building. I don't think we passed by it.
Maybe it didn't exist until after you left.
I think that's been there for a while.
Oh, all right.
No, it was constructed between 59 and 62. So yeah, been there for a while. Yep. Well, I lived in New Jersey, and we would run at the Holmdel course for the state meet. So it was pretty fun. But yeah, I was having fun looking at Google Maps and remembering some of that stuff. But they're Bell Labs. There you go. All right. Well, I think one thing let's talk about quick first is the pace of this show.
Okay.
Because I feel like the pace of this show is very slow. Let things settle in. What does that mean? Let's explore what that means, right?
Mm.
And I don't feel like it's too slow. I just felt like it was slow. I feel like the time that the show is taking gives you the opportunity to get to know the characters better,
Mm-hmm.
but you just don't get to know the answers of what you want to know, right? Like, I think that's what it is. I wanted to know more answers, and the show wasn't willing to share them with me at the pace I wanted to learn them.
I think for me, the big thing was, I want to say maybe episode 1 and 2, I hadn't quite figured out what it was that really was capturing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I finished episode 3, it's like, no, I got to finish this out. This is great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think because it is that slow burn of, okay, I don't know what's going on, and the mystery is there.
Well, because I think one of the things is, I think in the first 2 episodes, you're trying to figure out if Severance is a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
Because in some ways, Mark's character
Mm-hmm.
is sold on Severance, and it almost seems like his sister is somewhat sold on it too, and you're trying to figure out, is she really sold on it, or is she just supportive of Mark being sold on it?
Mm.
And then later you find out some more of the consequences of Severance, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not sure this is really a good decision. So at the beginning, you're thinking, this is really, okay, I can see. We're exploring a world where this exists, and this can be perceived as a good thing.
Yeah.
And I guess you're still arguing that in your head at the end. You're still kind of weighing that whether it's good or bad at the end. But by the end, I think your mind is either made up one way or the other.
I think for me, the thing that really clinched my decision about like where this all landed was when you got the culty vibes from the Perpetuity wing.
Well, there's that. Mm-hmm.
When you were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and for me, it was the... well, I mean, yeah, I probably in there too. That's like, this is super weird. Especially all of Irving's early faith in Lumen. But even the realization that there's that pregnant woman who wants to forget her pregnancy.
Mm.
I was like, really? You go that far to forget your pregnancy? I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, let's talk about some of the characters, because we'll get into some big things with the characters throughout the way. Because again, I think that's what's interesting about this show is that you don't get many answers, but the characters just keep building and building and building the whole way.
It is a very character-driven show.
It does a surprisingly good job with that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Especially considering for every one character they introduce, many times they're introducing 2 characters.
Right. Mm-hmm. The innie and the outie.
Yep.
Let's start with some of the smaller ones, but Dylan and Irving first, probably. I just think Dylan is so great. He is so great. He just realizes that it means nothing, but he just goes for the rewards anyway. I love that. Like, I got a little sticker here, or I got the knickknacks in his drawers and things.
Yeah, the finger traps.
Finger traps, that's what they are. It's so like, yeah, I know, they're silly, but I'm going to go for them anyway.
Hey, you can get a waffle party.
But then that's what makes his turn at the end so great, right? When he realizes, wait a minute, I have a kid.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, he is dedicated to doing the best job he can get to get the rewards that he can, to feel like he has done something well. But the moment that he realizes that he has a kid on the outside is the moment where he has that heel turn. And yeah.
Now nothing else means anything.
Where he just wants to know, what are their names? Like, what kind of life does he live? Because before that, he had dreamt up all these possibilities of what his life on the outside was like.
Yeah.
But the moment he had that kind of, oh no, this is what my life is.
Yeah, and this is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
On the outside. Doesn't even matter what what did he think? He said he was a professional wrestler or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, So, but yeah, the kid is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Irving is great because he has an amazing amount of arcs throughout the series. His faith in Lumen, like you were saying earlier,
Mm-hmm.
which then gets basically dashed with his friendship and romance with
Mm-hmm.
Bert. And then and this is one of the things we talked about in that earlier episode, the whole party for Bert's retirement,
Mm-hmm.
which Irving sees exactly what it is his funeral. And the crushingness of that, it's like, yeah, if you're severed and you don't come back, you die.
Yeah, that person you've grown to know, those memories no longer get activated, so that person is dead.
Right. So he's going to go up the elevator, and he's never going to wake up again. But man, I think John Turturro did a great job with that. And just the arc that character went through was wonderful.
Yeah, and for me, I think he's the one who I feel like went through some of the biggest changes, because at the beginning, he is talking about doing everything by the rules. He is quoting the rule book throughout the entire thing. All these lines from like how great Kier is and how he's basically like God descended to earth kind of level of deification of this man, to the point where I think there were a couple of songs about Kier.
Oh, well, the paintings were hilarious too.
Oh, those paintings. And that's where he started. And then throughout this entire thing, he grew close to Bert, Christopher Walken's character.
Mm-hmm.
He grew close to Bert, grew in friendship, and then sought a relationship with him. And then as they got closer and closer, the company wouldn't let that happen and said, all right, congratulations, you're retiring. But yeah, that retirement is a funeral.
He grew in total rebellion of him too, like exploring the hallways and searching him out. So completely different from where he started. He would have been the person quoting the rules saying you can't tour the hallways, and all of a sudden he keeps doing it. So yeah, quite interesting. Now, what do you think? I don't think they completely answered this. What do you think of his dreams of all the goo? Is it just a nightmare that he had? Or, a waking nightmare, I guess. Well, he was falling asleep.
I saw that as the black paint.
He's the black paint, right. It's part of his life coming in. But, of course, we see that now from the behind, right? But it is his Audi's life seeping into the innie world, right?
Well, yeah, but he keeps painting that same thing over and over again. I thought it was a black hallway, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about it later, but it's the hallway that that Mark's wife was going down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Casey. So I wonder if we had learned that he is the oldest one there, maybe, 3 years?
Yeah, he is the oldest one there, but he also seems to have gotten hired and went for this position for a reason.
Oh, okay. Do you think he's like trying to root them out or something like that? I mean, that's why he's got the map of all the severed people, right?
In looking at some of the documents that he was looking at, it seemed that there was something in the text that, like, there was a reason he had gotten in and, for lack of a better word, infiltrated Lumen, and then was spending all his time outside of his time at Lumen pursuing all these other things, pursuing these other people, trying to root out who are the other people who are severed.
Yeah, the other severed people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see where that plot line goes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's get to these two that are not severed, which is just...
Oh.
I mean, Milchek and Klobel/Selvig.
Yeah.
Oh my. Let's get into what is going on. What is Severance? I mean, you learn that basically Severance is a science experiment. It is, we don't really care what they do in work. We're just trying to see how much they remember. I mean, and that's what Miss Casey's there for. We're just seeing, can they remember? At the very first episode, they're asking Helly all these questions, and she doesn't remember the person. All the first parts are all unknown, but she does remember what a state is, right? Or something like that. She doesn't remember which state she was born in, but she can name a state.
Mm.
And then saying, yep, you scored perfectly. We didn't want you to remember those things. So it's like, okay, it seems like it's just a science experiment, and then Milchek and Kobel-Selvig are just trying to control the science experiment, right?
I mean, there might be something more with what they're doing, especially with picking the scary numbers. But yeah, I think nothing is quite as disturbing, I think is the best way to say it, as the fact that, so there are these two people, Milchek and Kobel, who are not severed, but go to the floor. They are the supervisors of the floor, and just completely manipulative.
Oh, yeah.
Emotionally abusive, just awful to the workers on this floor. What was the room? The apology room.
Oh, yeah. The break room.
The break room. If any of the people did something wrong, Milchek would take them to the break room.
Which is horrible. I mean, it's like, oh, the break room, what a great thing. But no, you sit there.
Until you break.
Yeah, basically. Actually, that's what it is. It's where you're broken because you sit there repeating an apology until he believes you're sorry enough. It's like, yikes.
And so you just keep saying, I am sorry, and sorry is the only thing that I can be, or something like that. Oh, man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Apologizing, and Milchek is just like, I don't think you mean that. Say it again. But at 5 o'clock, you're released. You get to go home. But because you're severed, the elevator closes, and the elevator opens back up, and you feel like no time has passed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're just going to go right back into the break room.
And you go straight back into the break room.
And your Audi has no recollection that that's what was happening, or feels no different.
Oh, it's just awful.
The one thing I found interesting about that is those headphones he's wearing with the foam on them.
Yeah.
We used to have one of those headphones when I was growing up. Very 80s headphones, which matches, again, the whole aesthetic of the show. Is very retro. All right, before we get to Helly and Mark, let's talk about Rickon and Devin. The sister and her weirdo husband.
Self-help guru.
I just love how his book is so sappy, but the only other book that they have ever read is the manual, right? So just the thoughts that are different than the manual just blow their mind, right?
Yeah, and what ends up happening is the book ends up on the severed floor and somehow gets passed around between Dylan and Mark, and I think Helly reads it a bit.
Yeah, did Irving read it? I forget now.
I don't think Irving ever read it.
Right. But what's amazing is that Dylan remembers it right off the bat. Like, he quotes it to Mark. And I was like, whoa.
Which means that both Mark and Dylan read it so much that they could quote it.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I think what's great about Rickon is that, of course, he tries his best, right? I mean, I don't think he considers himself.
He is the best intentioned.
Yes.
That is probably the best way to put it. He is the best intentioned, to the point where he is so determined that his child enter the world with the most possible benefits that he's hanging seaweed on the wall or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but yeah, he is the best intentioned. And I think, because most of it's harmless, which I think is what I love. His wife is just like, it's harmless, whatever. He can hang seaweed on the wall. It's not going to kill the baby. I'm not sure it's going to help, but it's definitely not going to kill the baby, so it's fine. But the sister's relationship with Mark is great, too. She's definitely totally understanding of everything he's doing and supportive of him the whole time, which is great, especially at the end when he sits down and talks with her. Super supportive the whole time. I thought their relationship was great.
Especially because they trust each other so deeply. It sets up the final episode so well that, our innies have been able to trigger something to wake up on the outside. So let me tell you what's actually happening. And she believes him.
Oh, and the scare that you think that Cobell might have the baby?
Oh.
That was rough, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, the entire time I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no. Especially because I was looking at the time stamp and going,
yeah, there's only like 5 minutes left. You're like, oh my goodness.
Please don't let that stretch into the second season. That's basically what I was like. Don't leave me hanging on what has happened to this baby until season 2. There's other things you can leave me hanging on, but not this baby.
Oh, and there's other things they do for sure.
All
right, Helly.
So to me, Helly feels like she is the audience stand-in for a lot of it.
Oh, for sure. Because she's the one that's learning everything, right?
Even though the main character is Mark, at least from my perspective, Mark is the one who it's all centered kind of around. Episode 1, Helly is being trained. So everything that Helly is going through, you are watching and kind of getting the feel for what this whole Severance program is all about through her eyes. Which means that it's absolutely heart-wrenching when you get to the final episode.
Oh, well, because, I did not pick up on this. I mean, I should have picked up on it. I'm just not paying attention, I guess, or just not putting enough thought into it earlier. But who would go back to work after you had hung yourself, right? Like, who would do that? Even the whole I'm going to slice my fingers off episode, like, still, even that, like, why would you refuse? Why would you turn that down?
Yeah, so she, at one point, because of everything that's happening, because this entire job is what it is, she tries to hang herself.
Well, I mean, first she does the I will slice my fingers off if you keep me working here. And then her video response from her Audi says, you must work there. You are nothing. You are not even a person kind of response, which is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Right there.
When her Audi says, you are not a human being, and then her response to that is, oh, I'm not a human being. So she sets up hanging herself and jumps off of the trash can right before
the Audi wakes up, and then the Audi is feeling herself choking, right? I mean, it's the like, oh, I woke up and now I'm choking all of a sudden, right? Which is a rough week.
Mm-hmm.
But then she comes back to work in 2 days, right? It's like, who would do that? But I mean, again, the end clears it right up. I mean, the end is like, oh yeah, well, of course, because Helly is a descendant of the founder. It's like a PR stunt for the company. Like, hey, we believe in our product so much, we sent our prized daughter to do this.
Isn't she the daughter of the CEO?
Yes. And of course, they've got all these pictures of her so happy because it's during the music dance experience. So yeah, they got all her great pictures of her smiling, because they happened to take pictures at the time where she was smiling. Yikes. Because she's all sad the rest of the time, and they're not showing that. But man.
Yeah. And like everything that happens with Petey, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't talk about Petey too much, but yeah, that's quite interesting. And my question is, can somebody be reintegrated with that one? I think my guess still is that yes, somebody could. It's just Petey kept ignoring what he should have been doing, which is silly to me, but maybe he wasn't taking the pills right, or maybe should have gone in for more checkups. But I guess he was hiding at the time too, so...
Yeah, I think part of it was his fear of getting caught.
Yeah.
But apparently the doctor who reintegrated Petey said, yeah, he didn't do what I asked him to do to keep himself safe. So I would say, yeah, there's probably a way.
All right, so Mark is great. I would say also he is the main character.
Mm-hmm.
But the stark difference between him on the inside and him on the outside, oof. I was watching a recap to catch myself up. And somebody mentioning that they used to call Mark, I don't know, they had a name for him because he would always come in with bloated eyes because he's crying over the death of his wife every time he's pulling up to work.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to remember it, so he goes to work, doesn't remember it, then wakes up and still remembers it when he gets out. He's trying to turn off his brain for 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So he's happy at work, but sad at home. Right? I mean...
If I remember right, the first episode opens with him crying unconsolably in his car.
Right, exactly. Waiting for his time to go into the office because they have to go in separate times.
And then when his time comes that he can go into work, he tries his best to dry his eyes, goes into work, swaps into whatever work things he has, and then goes into the elevator, and his brain just goes boop.
Yep, doesn't remember anything.
No.
So then you discover that his wife is here. The wife he's been crying about the whole time is actually in the office.
Mm-hmm. And is a person who he's tried to protect a couple of times, but...
Mm-hmm.
And the season ends with him running out to his sister, clutching the photo. Wait, no, he wasn't clutching the photo.
I think he might have been.
What? I don't remember.
I think he might have been holding it and saying she's alive.
But yeah, he was running out to his sister yelling, she's alive, she's alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was swapped back to his Audi.
Mm-hmm. And you brought up in the previous episode, Miss Casey, even in the show, she mentions that she's only been alive for so many hours.
Mm-hmm.
So you wonder then, if she's not been alive for that long, it's been months since her car accident that supposedly killed her.
Yeah.
And she had her longest awake day at 8 hours when she was sitting in their office watching Helly to make sure she wasn't going to kill herself. That was her longest awake day. Like, okay, so then she's really only been awake for so long. Where has she been? What has she been doing? If she's only been in INI for so little, what has her Audi been doing?
Is she put into what is essentially a coma during the rest of the time?
I think her going down the dark escalator at the end, right, that Irving has been drawing,
yeah,
her going down that escalator is only the first time she's going down that escalator. She's not going down there every day, I don't think, right?
I don't think so, but
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think she was hesitant going down there, so I think it was the first time she's gone down there. So, yeah, where has she been? What has she been doing? And again, maybe I should have realized that that was going to be his wife sooner.
I don't know. There wasn't enough hints there.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough hints. I think maybe you could have guessed it when he's putting together the photo just before you see it, because you're like, okay, wait a minute, conservation of characters, who does it have to be? Well, either her or Helly. No, but he saw Helly outside once when he was driving in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been Helly. So again, like even that, you run into the other person sometimes outside. So I doubt his wife is wandering the streets. She's got to be holed up somewhere by Lumen. And they're really messing with him to see. She died before Mark even took the job, right? So like how did all this play out?
Yeah.
How did they know he was going to take the job? Because it does seem like a test. It does seem like they put her there to test him to see if he remembers her.
And part of that maybe has to do with why he lives next to his boss. Because one of the first episodes after you realize that his boss lives next door, she sneaks over to his house and steals things from his basement, specifically a candle that was his wife's.
Right. And I wonder if they're putting it in the office. I don't remember seeing it in the office later, but I'm wondering...
Oh, it was in the help room with the counselor. It was with his wife.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if they're testing him to see if he remembers it, right?
Possibly.
They just keep testing. Can they break the severance? And apparently they can't, outside of the overtime contingency.
Also, I do have to say that I'm a little scared of where season 2 is going to pick up, because there's several things that happen right at the end.
I know.
That I'm just like, oh, that's going to be so bad waking up in there.
All their Audis waking up where they are now.
Yeah, Irving pounding on the door, calling out for Bert. Where Bert and his husband are, like, what were they
celebrating? I think they're still celebrating Bert's retirement, probably, right?
Probably.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
They were celebrating something, but Bert and his husband were celebrating something, and Irving's just pounding on the door, calling and crying out for Bert. Helly is getting tackled.
But still in the middle of her speech. Yeah, tackled in the middle of her speech.
Yeah.
So she's going to wake up on the floor saying, wait, I'm supposed to talk.
Yeah. And Mark is trying to tell his sister that his wife, who he thought was dead, is still alive. When does season 2 come out?
I don't know. I don't know when it comes out. That's a good question. I want to know. Because, even if the Audis learn things because of how they wake up, and some will, some won't, right? I'm not sure Irving is going to be stuck where he is. The Audi is not going to learn too much. He's just going to be at this house and wondering why. But, I think Devin is going to start sharing things with Mark. I don't think there's a way that she can't. But I'm fearful also of the innies when they wake up again, right? Because they're going to come down the elevator, and who's going to be at the bottom but Milchek?
Well, they'll all have to tell how sorry they are.
Yeah, I know, right? They're all going to be spending time in the break room, or will they even let them back in? That's the question too. Will all their innies die? I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go, because I am fearful for their innies, because it might be in Lumen's best interest just to cut them off at this point. They know too much.
Yeah, but I think they're going to keep pushing it because, at the very least...
Well, Helly,
they're not going to cut her loose at this point.
No, they can't, because she's the face. Now she might have ruined some things, but still she's the face.
Yeah, but Cobell, I don't think will let Mark be fired, I don't think. Because I feel like there is some major reason that she keeps following and trying to get integrated into Mark's life.
Do you think her confronting Helly will be enough to save her job, since she was fired in the last episode there?
I think probably yes, because she tried to warn everyone, and when she wasn't listened to, she can basically just say, I told you so, you didn't listen to me. And I think, given that this is the CEO's daughter, he's going to take that very seriously.
It's going to be interesting.
Yep. When does season 2 start? That's what I want to know.
We're going to have to find out soon. I hope. I think we know it's been renewed.
Yeah. I sure hope it's been renewed, because it's been nominated for a lot of awards.
It's been nominated for a lot of awards. Not quite as many as Ted Lasso.
Yeah. Well.
For an Apple TV show, it's one of the better ones. So, Ryan, what do you have for me next time?
Well, I read an interesting book.
We're getting back to books, huh? No more TV.
Well, how many books have I had you read in a row now?
Well, I know I snuck a TV one in here because I was like, no, we got to talk about Severance. I'm getting back to books too. It's like, all right, I moved some books down the list because Severance had to come in here, but back to books.
Yeah, I want you to read a book this coming time, and it is a book called A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. The reason why I want to read this book is A, it's just a fun book, and B, it's got an interesting take on the world. So in this world, there is magic, and magic isn't always like throwing fireballs and doing things like that. In this world, most people who have magic have control over something. So our main character is a minor wizard who has power over bread and baked goods. So this is a fun story. It is a young adult book and written from the perspective of a younger narrator. So do keep that in mind. But it is a fun book where you get to have magic sourdough.
Sounds good to me. Sounds like it might be hard to read while hungry.
Depends. How much do you love bread?
I like bread. I think I like rice more, but I like bread.
I lean more towards bread. We hope that you found something nice about this hill that we were willing to die on. And we appreciate all of our listeners coming along on this journey with us. But if you ever thought to yourself, hey, I really like these guys and what they do, and I just wish there was some way that I could support them, know that you can. Visit myhilltodieon.com/members for more details. But what does it mean to be a member? Well, for the low price of $2 a month or $15 a year, you can help support this podcast. And by doing so, you'll also get access to the members-only podcast, Not My Hill, where we discuss things that are probably somebody else's hill to die on. We have strong feelings about them, but as the title says, they're definitely not hills that we'd be willing to die on. In addition, you'll also get access to the suggestion form where you can make suggestions for our Listener Hill episodes, where we will watch, read, or climb up a hill that you're willing to die on, and we'll talk all about that hill. But know that the conversation doesn't have to end here. The discussion can continue with us through Reddit at the subreddit My Hill to Die On, or by contacting us through Twitter at My Hill to Die On. Or you can reach us by email, which is, to no one's surprise, myhilltodieon@gmail.com. Finally, we upload all of our episodes to our YouTube channel, which is also named, say it with me now, folks, My Hill to Die On. Yeah, I've been listening to books all weekend, so...
Yeah, I know. I'm in the middle of my book, too. I had to stop to come here.
Well, I finished one book and then immediately started another one, and I am about halfway through now. So, yeah, I've been trying to get through a lot of books that I could potentially use in the class, and also I'm doubling up a bit because this is also a book that I need to read. I think I have some time before I need to read it, but oh yeah, I got plenty of time. It's dropped to episode 68.
Oh, yeah.
I'm reading The Golem and the Genie.
Oh, you're reading it right now? Oh, okay, good.
I was like, well, Nate thinks this is a really good one, and I am still continuing to try to listen to as much fantasy as I possibly can to see if I should include anything in it.
And there's religion in this fantasy.
Yeah. It's actually got a lot of good themes. So far, I'm only about halfway through it right now. So far, there's a lot of good themes about like faith and about purpose and things like that. So I am at a point where I realize that I don't call anybody. So
do you even need a phone number?
I do, for reasons of like two-factor authentication and things like that.
Yeah, I can see that. And even just regular, life, right? People ask you for your phone number. You're going to have to write it down.
Yeah. And to say, oh, I don't have a phone number, but you can reach me by
FaceTime. No, you don't want to give that out. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think the show will be long, so.
What?
We'll have a long main media, I think, maybe.
Probably. I mean, you say that like you have a lot to say about Severance.
Well, it's a whole season.
Yeah, it's a whole season. I mean, it's no Vincenzo season.
No, well, can't compare to Vincenzo, although it's pretty close.
Well, no, I'm just talking about length.
You mean not 20 episodes of an hour and a half long?
Yeah, I mean, not 20 episodes of an hour and a half long. This is 9 episodes of like 40 to 50 minutes long apiece. So, for example, pay slips.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't feel comfortable saying pay slips on...
That's fine. You just can't tell them how much I make, that's all.
Oh, I wasn't going to. Again, you're the one editing this, so feel free to cut.
I mean, you can't tell everybody how little we make. Sorry, that's what I mean to say.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get that membership plug in at the end. We're sticking this to the end.
Oh, by the way,
mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, real quick, I did have somebody say, can I count on you for being part of the wilderness trip this year?
What did you say?
I said...
You said you're in the best shape of your life, so you're good to go.
I said, this is a tentative yes, but I need to work on my cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, I am not in the best shape of my life, I wouldn't say, but I am significantly better than the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be fun. You'll have a good time.
No, yeah. I mean, I've done it before. I've done it several years. I've even made it to the end, a couple of them.
I was going to say that. Most of them you made it to the end. Sorry.
I have a significant winning ratio now.
Oh, significant. More than 50%, huh?
Well, 50%. It is 50% because 4 years, 2 failures,
and 2 successes.
And 2 successes. One, I broke my foot before I went. So if you don't count the leaving, if you count just the ones that I actually left on, departed on, then I'm at a 67% win ratio. If you count all the ones that I attempted, it's a 50% win ratio.
Let's get going. I told my wife I'd be home at 11. We're going to be tight on that.
Yeah, you're going to be tight on that. Well, somebody had to tell 3 stories.
Yeah, Yeah, that 5 minutes killed us.
Speaking of plot lines and where they're going to go, I think one of the ones that I find very intriguing, avoiding the big one that I want to talk about at the end, but I think another one that's very big is Helly and her relationship with the Egans.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's wait a little bit on that.
Well, the big one that I want to talk about at the end was she's alive.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm saving that to the end too. Yep. Mm-hmm. Helly is second to the end, and then Mark and Miss Casey is last. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I added in the few words that you added in this time, and they were good.
Well, I got to keep things mixed up. Otherwise, we could just record it once and copy and paste it.
Yep. All right, sounds good. I'll see you tomorrow, Ryan.
All right. Wait, I have to come into work tomorrow?
Yeah, you do.
Take care.
Good night.